Twisters, fiction and fact. Hollywood and real events.
Dodge whatever's in there, it's big and it's moving fast.
Storm chasers and tornadoes take center stage in this blockbuster. But how accurate is it?
And our crew is not like your crew.
The man who was the model for the Tornado Wrangler breaks down the top 11 things you need to know, using incredible real-life footage that he and his team recorded.
Well, you can always trust a guy who puts his face on a t-shirt.
This has spoilers, so go watch the movie before you watch this. Let's jump in. Number 11. Wind turbines. How accurate was this scene?
In the movie Twisters, you saw those blades break off and then get jabbed right into the ground in front of the vehicle.
That's a little different from what Team Dominator saw this year.
What we saw is the whole entire wind turbine crashing to the ground inside of a violent tornado, getting shredded like cardboard.
Notably, the blades were the first things to get destroyed. But to be fair, this tornado had the fastest wind speeds ever recorded on Earth.
But definitely is fact, wind turbines can get shredded by a tornado.
Number 10. Twin tornadoes.
Twin tornadoes can certainly happen, that is fact. But usually when you're talking about a twin tornado, it's two separate occlusions, two separate subvortices of a mesocyclone, like the Pilgrim, Nebraska tornadoes of 2014.
These tornadoes were about a half a mile apart, right on top of each other for a meteorologist.
What we saw in the movie Twisters, the subvortices were really close together. It looked like they were a part of the same parent tornado. They called those twin tornadoes, but it looked like one singular tornado vortex with subvortices inside, a classic multiple vortex tornado.
And then the two tornadoes go in opposite directions, which stretches the science.
But when you have two vortices that close together in a single tornado, it's impossible for them to go two separate directions like that and just split apart.
Number 9. Rockets.
Those fireworks?
Yes, ma'am.
So how Tyler Owens launches rockets into the tornadoes is very similar to what we did with the Dominator 1, but with these PVC pipe cannons. We hit a big red button in the Dominator and then pop those projectiles with a parachute into the tornado.
The difference? Tyler was inside the tornado launching rockets.
They definitely didn't need the propulsion. Once you're in the tornado, you have 100-mile-per-hour vertical winds, and the tornado itself will be able to loft those projectiles.
But it's not to say rockets aren't useful in tornado research, as Team Dominator adopted them years ago, but in a slightly different way.
By 2019, we did evolve to use propulsion with our rockets, but we launched the rocket from a place on the storm called the inflow notch, just outside of the tornado.
And they successfully got great data from the tornado and published a scientific paper on it, the only of its kind. Number 8. Sheltering under an overpass. In the opening scenes, the characters and Twisters flee an EF5 tornado and head for an underpass. A controversial move, but
I myself hid underneath an overpass from a tornado early on in my career. It was the May 3rd, 1999 F5 tornado just to the southwest of Moore, Oklahoma. And we thought the best thing to do was to abandon our soft-top geo-tracker, run for an overpass as that F5 was coming at us.
Since '99, that strategy has been called into question.
It was later on that research came out that it actually can be more dangerous to seek shelter underneath an overpass. Through Bernoulli effect, the overpass will accelerate the wind underneath and it can actually become more damaging, more dangerous.
In other words, the overpass serves as a wind accelerating funnel.
The best thing to do is to stay informed about severe weather. Keep yourself out of that position to begin with. But if your car is disabled and you're out there and there happens to be a well-built overpass, I would probably run for it too and tell my family members to run for that overpass. I think if you could wedge yourself up, you could give yourself a fighting chance because it's not necessarily the wind of a tornado, it's what's flying around inside of it.
Number 7. The Tornado Wrangler's vehicle. Taking a direct hit from a tornado is no easy feat, and the Tornado Wrangler's rig had some nice hardware.
One thing the Tornado Wrangler has that I think is a good design are the augers. They actually screw into the earth, and if those can work and if they're fast enough to deploy, that would give you a little bit more fastening to the ground.
But a tornado intercept is a situation where microseconds count. And that's one place the Dominator 3 has the edge.
These spikes right here just shoot right into the ground. Even though it may not be quite as effective at anchoring the vehicle, I think that we have a slightly better design with the faster motion of the spikes.
But it's not the anchoring system that's the issue. It's the shape of the Tornado Wrangler's truck.
Very importantly, we have this skirting, this rubber sheath along the base of the Dominator 3. That's designed to keep wind from going underneath the vehicle. Tyler Owens, the Tornado Wrangler, does not have that. Even with the augers, augers, it could still potentially loft the vehicle. There'd be a lot of vertical force on that vehicle, and it's very possible that even those augers wouldn't be able to anchor the vehicle to the ground.
But there's one thing even more glaring.
They have nothing for flying debris. You may have noticed there's hardly any armor on the outside of Tyler Owens' vehicle, and even a 2x4 coming in at 200 miles an hour would absolutely shred the Tornado Wrangler's vehicle. So I think they need a little bit more armor.
Number 6, streaming storm chases. In the movie, Tyler Owens is streaming his team's chase. But is this feasible? Quick answer, yes.
We also live stream our storm chases and our tornado intercepts at Team Dominator.
We gotta get an intercept position. We might have to recover this drone later.
I definitely saw a lot of parallels, but the one thing that was unrealistic in this live stream is his use of music. He's playing the radio in the middle of the live stream. That'll get you a nice copyright strike on social media platforms these days.
Live streaming storm chases is a fact, and it's exciting and informative.
This is a strong tornado. This is a big tornado. Get in your safe place. This is Cole, Slaughterville, Noble, Goldsby, Washington.
Number 5, chaser characters. The chasers themselves in Twisters are complex and sometimes butt heads.
Calls himself Tornado Wrangler.
There definitely are storm chaser rivalries out there, and I think that it was depicted well in the movie Twister, but a lot of times the bickering is handled on social media, subtweets, text messages. You don't have a lot of that in person at gas stations.
And the little fake out that they do to each other is a page straight out of Reed's playbook.
Some of our haters out there, some of the government-funded research groups, and we'd be like, the tornado's touching down to the north. Everybody would take off and leave the gas station parking lot, and then we would have it to ourselves there. So
But the rivalry also plays out on the chases themselves.
the driving was definitely crazy in the movie Twisters. That was a little unrealistic. You're not just going to be driving through plowed fields, because that would end your chase. It would disable the vehicle, but the driving was just a little bit over the top.
Is that it?
Nope.
Number 4, surprise tornadoes. Most notably in the rodeo scene, our characters are caught off guard by a tornado.
The surprise tornadoes in the movie Twisters were also a bit unrealistic. There's a little bit more advanced warning than that.
In fact, when the original was released, everyday people had only 5 minutes of lead time for a tornado warning. Today, that lead time is around 13 minutes, but chasers check radar constantly.
With all the storm chasers caught off guard like that, that would never happen in real life. Everybody would be on their radar app. Everybody would know there was a risk area.
But we get it. Smartphones have ruined a lot of dramatic tension in movies. But it was a pretty good scene. Still,
And there's definitely a build-up to a tornado event like that. So there is no way everybody would just be caught with their pants down.
Number 3, sheltering in a swimming pool. In Twisters, the characters take shelter in an empty swimming pool. But would that work in a pinch?
Sheltering in a pool is not a terrible idea. That could be an idea that I would use in the moment. You get out of the way of the debris a little bit. If you're below ground level, you get out of that big wind. And the wind doesn't want to go underground like that. It wants to follow the path of least resistance. The problem with a pool, though, is debris fall. You could definitely get debris falling into that pool, and that could lead to a life-threatening situation out there.
Number 2, firenadoes. Are these real or just something Hollywood made up?
Firenadoes do exist in nature. They do happen. We've seen them, and they're usually associated with wildfires. With a pyrocumulonimbus cloud, you'll get a tornado that could even be strong to potentially violent, causing damage.
But the one in the movie is a little different.
The firenado depicted in the movie Twister is not your classic firenado as defined in meteorology. It's a classic tornado that happens to interact with an oil refinery, and you have flames that wrap up the vortex, even intensifying it a little bit. And it would be possible that if you inject a heat source at the base of a tornado, you could get more stretching and actually an intensification of the tornado.
Number 1, stopping a tornado. The characters in Twisters look to stop a tornado in its tracks by releasing a large amount of super absorbent material into its core. But could that actually work?
The way that they disrupted the tornado and taken a microphysical approach to it, I think is the right way to destroy a tornado, kind of disrupting the cloud microphysics inside. So by basically just launching a giant sponge into the tornado and sucking up all that moisture could disrupt the delicate balance that defines a tornado cyclone. And it might actually work. So in theory, I like the approach that they took.
And since advising with the project and science early on, it's an idea that's stuck in Reed's head.
I think that what we need to do here at Team Dominator is pivot our science mission from trying to understand the pressure falls and wind speeds inside of a tornado and pivot it to trying to disrupt and destroy the tornado.
So there you have it. Twisters the movie, inspiring new research from Team Dominator. Go see it, we loved it, and stay weather aware.